very warm welcome to another exciting episode of Psychology Talks. And I'm your host, Amreen Nadeem today. And today we're going to discuss the secrets of happy relationship. Why relationship? Because the longest study by Harvard University indicated that healthy relationships are the key to happiness. So if you have healthy and happy relationship, but at personal level and at professional level, it's more likely that you will be leading a happy and a peaceful life. But why it is so difficult to have happy relationship? Because when it is the key to have happiness, then what exactly are we missing out when we ruin with the relationships? And that is exactly what we're going to discuss today. And that's why I have invited two guests today who are a couple and who met maybe through serendipity or through synchronicity. But as you know, as anything, like for anything to work out, you need to invest time and efforts in it. So, and relationship is not an exception to that. So even if you want to work on a relationship, if you want to have happy relationship, you have to work on it. No matter how much universe works to bring you together, if you are not willing to spend time and effort, you're not going to have a happy relationship. But this couple was met through synchronicity, as I mentioned, but after that, they made it work. And they are also a business partner, and that's how they're also working or making profits out of their relationships, having a happy and healthy relationship. So who are these guests? These guests are Karen Schwab and Tom Schwab. Tom is the CEO of Interview Valley, engineer, a Navy veteran, and an author of 2 books. And of course, his wife, Karen, works with him to make his business work and to achieve success in business as well. So just one more thing that Tom always believes that the best thing in life comes from conversation, and it is these powerful, sometimes awkward conversation that leads us from where we personally and professionally to where we dream of being. So let's welcome this amazing couple. Hello, Tom and Karen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ambreen. So great to see you.
We're thrilled to be here.
Yeah, likewise. It's an honor to have you here. And when I actually first met Karen and she told me about you and her story, it really inspired me. And at that moment, I just told her that, I want you both to be on my show, and I want you to share your secrets, because I know a lot of people are going through difficult times or difficulty in actually having a happy relationship. And I know that you guys are the best one to give them advice. Yeah. So I gave a little bit of introduction about you, but before we get into the proper conversation, just tell us about yourself so our audience get to know you better.
Well, I'm Karen Schwab, and of course, as you mentioned, I work with Tom in Interview Valet. One of my roles there is to reach out to podcast hosts and build relationships with them, and that's how you and I met. So I'm very thankful for that. And we're just here trying to live our best lives.
And we've been married now for going on 15 years. Between the two of us, we have 4 children and 2 grandchildren, and doing it all from southwestern Michigan, so halfway between Chicago and Detroit.
Amazing. That's amazing. So in the beginning, I also just shared that you guys met and when you were going through some difficult times, right? When you thought that like you were having toxic relationships in your life, and you were trying to figure out that how to deal with them, and that's how you met. And that's why I said that through serendipity or synchronicity you guys met. So just tell us a little bit about your story, that how you met, how you figured out, and how it worked out for you.
Sure. We met during, we were actually both training for a marathon. So we met in a running group, and we just saw each other and ran together once a week, Saturday mornings. And when you run long distance, you kind of wear yourself down and you get real deep real quick. So we had a lot of powerful conversations, really get a glimpse into what the other person is like, and without any filters. You get tired and someone asks you a question, you just give them the raw, honest answer. You can't think about, oh, how's this going to make me look or anything like that. So we just kind of hit it off. We had a lot of similar stories in our upbringing and such. And we didn't set out for anything to happen, but we did end up falling in love. And here we are 15 years later, or married 15 years now.
Okay, amazing, amazing. I mean, when you're meant to be together, they're like, these are just the coincidences that you get, that you guys were there at the same time, and, you shared the same interests, and that's how you fell in love. But as anything to work out, you need some effort, right? And I believe relationship is also not an exception to it. So if you want to work out or have a happy or healthy relationship, you need to work out. So tell us a bit about it, how your relationship, because of course, meeting someone and falling in love is a natural process. Maybe there's some serotonin and some like neurotransmitters are going on in our trigger in our brain, and it makes us fall in love with the person. But the real test comes after that, when the honeymoon period is over. So tell us a bit about yourself, about your struggles, that how you survived those 15 years when the honeymoon phase was over.
I'll take this one. And so you were so right. The honeymoon phase is fun, right? It's fun to date. It's fun to get to know someone. It's fun to think about the wedding. And then we got into the marriage, and I think we both felt that we had a lot of the same problems we had in the first marriage, right? And the problem was not the other person, it was us. So looking at it saying, they're not responsible for making me happy, but what do I need to do in order to be the best person in the relationship I can be? And then I also admit, probably for the first couple of years, people would say how hard marriage was, right? And I didn't understand that, right? Because she was doing the vast majority of the work, right? And if she gave 100%, we got there. If it was only 90%, well, it fell a little bit short. And after some self-reflection, and there was a book that I read where it talked about, if both people, and it was a business book, if both people give 100%, right? If they both hit it, you get 200%. Whereas if you're both at half, you still get 100%. So it's not easy. Not every day is rainbows and unicorns, but there's that decision to be happy and decision to realize that if this is a rough spot, it's just a spot, right? We'll work through it together.
Yeah, that's true. And basically, as even I written an article maybe like 10 years ago, but that's about the relationship, that when that phase was over, when the effect of these neurotransmitter wears off, then you start to realize that, okay, then you start to see the negative aspects of the partner as well. And then as you mentioned that the period when the excitement level is high, when you're dating other person, and you just that phase is basically make you happy, because you're seeing in future that you will be happy with that person, right? But when you're living with the person, then you say that, okay, this is reality, and then you start seeing maybe the things that you have never actually seen at that time. So how do you deal with that, when you see that, okay, that person doesn't have this, or maybe this doesn't match with your personality or psyche? So how do you deal with these kind of conflicts?
Well, for me, it's kind of funny, but to relate it to running, I might be like really mad at Tom about something, and I'll go for a run, and I spend the first couple miles just thinking like why is he acting this way? Why is he doing that? And it's all about what is he doing? And then I run through everything I can think of as to why I should be mad at him, and that I'm justified in being mad. And then the second half is kind of like, what part did I play in this? And what does he know that this is bothering me? Do we need to have a conversation about this? Well, how do we get through this, rather than just being mad at him and placing blame on him, or being mad and not telling him I'm mad? He can't read my mind. So I think that's how I kind of worked through a lot of those like early stages. And even now, it just, we have the type of relationship that we're very comfortable and confident in our relationship. And we can easily have that conversation now of, hey, when you said that, this is how I took it. And usually it's like, oh, no, oh my gosh, I did not mean that way. And he's thinking the best of me and I'm thinking the best of him. Therefore, we're not in that, we don't stay in that area where you can be mad at someone for very long, because we just don't believe that, we know better. We know each other better than that. And I think that comes with maturity too. We're not in our 20s or 30s anymore. We've been through it. And so now I think we're just at that wonderful stage of life where we can see what life could be or should be. And that's what we're chasing.
And I wouldn't say it's perfect right now, right? We still have conversations. Like the other day, Karen asked me, she's like, when you make coffee, why don't you push it back in, right? We've lived in this house now for 9 years. And whenever I make coffee in the morning, I always pull it out, I make it, and I leave it pulled out from the cupboard. And she always, I think the story she was telling herself, that I was too lazy to push it back in, but she never got mad. Finally, she just asked me, why don't you just push it back in? And I said, well, because the steam from the coffee will go up and it'll ruin the cupboards. And she was like, oh, but if she would have told herself that, I was a bad person for doing this, we could have gotten a huge fight over something that was really minimal, and it was just a misunderstanding. So I think having that communication and asking that question if you don't understand.
Yes, I think that's a very brilliant insight. Communication is, and I would just say that here is the kind of a role to play to understand the women's psyche and the men's psyche, because usually, as you mentioned that, Karen was arguing that you should not leave the coffee up there so it can ruin this. What I have seen with the couples, what they do is that, especially the female or the women, basically, they keep thinking that they are the best one, they need to care for the other person, and they don't say it very clearly. Like they may say, don't do this, but then, as you mentioned, that Karen explained it to you, and as a male or the men, they take it very literally, right? So as the confusion between the communication should be, as you mentioned, should be very open and clear, and we should not leave it. Here is, I feel the message for men and women both, that, explain what you mean is more important than just saying that don't do this. Like maybe once I was talking to, or actually counseling someone, like they were the couple, and they said that the woman keeps on arguing that don't leave your dirty clothes on the floor. They said put it on the basket, and that's the major complaint of the woman. But then the men say what is the problem with this? Just say this and just throw it. But when actually she explained it, that why she wanted that way, then the men actually realize that, okay, he needs to take care of it, because it is a great deal for the lady. So the thing is that these small things, maybe for us or for women, we say it, but we need to say it very clearly. What do we mean? And at the same time, men actually need to ask that what really means to it. Do we really mean it? And do you really, and how important it is for you to carry out certain tasks? Because there is there's a men's psyche that, they take it very easily. They take it granted. I mean, okay, this is not a big deal. If it doesn't happen, it wouldn't work out. So I think that's a brilliant insight. So now moving on to the further conversation that, as I mentioned, that relationships are the key to happiness, right? Whether it's the personal life or the professional life. So if we take the example of the professional life, right? So how important it is to have a better relationship, even at the personal life, that will give you the mental peace, but then with the colleagues, which can actually help you grow your business. So could you please explain, or could you share some your experience at how you, because you have a great team, so how do you deal with or have happy, healthy relationship at a workplace?
Well, I think a lot of the things still apply, right? From the standpoint of thinking the best of the other people, communicating them. We've got a great team, right, of 29 people, but none of them are able to read my mind, right? So you've got to tell them, what you're thinking, and ask them what they're thinking. So, and often we're a remote team, so that's harder to do. So you have to be intentional to do that. One of the things I do as the leader now, with this many people, I don't see them every day. I don't talk with them every day. So twice a year, in the 1st of July and then toward the end of November, I always block out 1 week and just have 30-minute conversations with them. And, there's a little bit of an agenda, but it's not a performance review. It's really, how's the year going? Where are your goals? How can we help you get there? What areas for improvement do you want? Where do you want to grow? And really keep it focused on them, and even being humble enough to say, if you were in my position, what would you do? Right? Because one of my big things is, what's ordinary to you is amazing to others, because they're the ones that are close enough to the action that I don't see it. So I think just having the humility sometimes to ask and have that communication.
Yeah, I think that's very important to have a one-to-one relationship, to know exactly what's going on in their lives, in the lives of the team, because sometimes a project may need some more effort, but if the team member is not 100% or having problem in their personal life, and if we don't give this or we don't recognize the problem, or we don't realize, then there will be always a conflict. They would not be able to give 100% to the project or to your work. So I think that's very important, because once I was listening to this wonderful TED Talks, and that there was a person, I don't remember the name, but he was a very big entrepreneur. He took the company, which was actually dying. It was almost finished. And what he did was that, in order to rebuild uh, or restart the business from zero, which was almost gone, he said that he started painting walls of the with the team of the company, and that's how he got to know exactly that what was going on in the business and in the personal life of the people. So I think what you said, that it's very important to have a direct relationship. But what we lack, what we see here most of the time, people actually, uh, especially like we see the Great Resignation and something. So, what do you think? What was missing in that? Why were people not connected with the work, and they feel that it's better to leave the job? And of course, the timings were, of course, when they were having these economic pressures, yet they voluntarily opted for the resignation. So what do you think was missing there?
Um, that's interesting. I don't know that I've really thought through that, but the first thing that came to my mind is something my grandpa used to tell me. He would say that you hire a mule for its back, you hire a man or a woman for their mind. So I think if you treat people like a rented animal or a machine, you're going to get what you can beat out of them, right? Which is not a good thing, right? But if you treat them as a partner, as a person, there's that thing, discretionary effort, right? That people will do the minimum required if they're forced to do it. But you think of people that are friends, that care for you, that believe in the mission, they're going to give that discretionary effort. And I always say in COVID for us, it was the best of times, right?
Yeah.
Um, we were all remote. And when COVID hit, we lost about 25% of the business overnight, right? Within a couple of weeks, our business exploded because a lot of the smaller businesses pulled back, but a lot of the larger businesses said, now is the time for us to start leveraging podcasts. So I went to our team and said, we're going to hire more people, but I need you to work more hours if you're available to do that. And so as a lot of other people were getting laid off of their jobs, our people were at home and saying, oh yeah, I can do this. And they really stepped up, and it was a great time. We all came together. It was a common mission, and they owned it as much as I did. And I was so proud of the team at that point. And that's, I always say that was the highlight of our business.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, I think COVID has taught many lessons which we could not have actually learned otherwise. So I think that's a wonderful example that you give. So tell us a bit about your business. What exactly you do and how does it work?
Yeah, so we believe that obscurity is the biggest problem today, right? If you're running a business, there's thousands, tens of thousands, maybe millions of people that you could help. The only problem is they don't know you exist, right?
Yeah.
And this idea of breaking through the noise, I actually think that's getting to be laughable, right? Everybody's yelling, no one's getting heard. So what we do is allow people to get in on the conversations that their ideal clients are already listening to. And today, the easiest way to do that is being a guest on targeted podcast interviews, where you get to show up for 30 or 45 minutes, tell your story, tell your heart of who you are, what you believe. And really today, I think the best way to sell anything is not to sell anything, but to earn the respect, awareness, and trust of those who might buy.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's true that the podcast are the very quick way. And a lot of people are listening or tuning into the podcast to find out. But as you mentioned, there's a lot of noise. There are lots of podcasts there. So how do you actually help those people that who are having those podcasts? Maybe do you help people or you just arrange the guests?
Well, it's a little bit of inbound marketing, and from the standpoint of using content to attract, engage, and delight customers. But most people that come to us, they're high-level coaches or consultants or nonfiction authors, or they've got a brand. And so they come to us and we start working with them on who do they want to talk to? What kinds of things could they talk about? And then, over the last 9 years, we've built an incredible database. So we can say, if you want to talk to these people, here are the podcasts that would be great. And then we help them. We prepare them for every interview. We show them the best practices, and we help them really not just get interviews, but get results from every interview.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, when I first heard this idea about when you're arranging the guest, it really fascinated me that how it is how it can help people and how it can it can help businesses as well. But then you explained it so well that this is how it's kind of a marketing. And as you mentioned, the best thing is like to not just sell directly, is to earn respect. Basically, to create awareness is the, I think, key to sell or your product or your services. And you've written like 2 books as well. Could you tell us a little bit about your books? That what is it about, and why do you think you wrote the book at first place?
The first one is called Podcast Guest Profits: How to Grow Your Business with the Targeted Interview Strategy. And that was really just to show the system that we were doing, all of the tactics, right? What we do is not a secret. It's not a magic trick. It's really just a system. So I put that one out there because so many people were asking me how we did it, right? And for some people, we can help them with the do-it-yourself services. Other ones come to us that they want us to do it. So that was more of the how-to book. And then One Conversation Away, that's more of the manifesto of why I think it's so important. There's a lot of problems in the world today, but I think most of them, probably all of them, could be solved with conversations, right?
Yeah.
Real human conversations. And at times those can be challenging. They can be awkward, just like in relationships, right? It's easier to tell ourselves a story than it is to actually have that hard conversation with other people.
Yeah.
So that's really One Conversation Away, is the idea of that everything great in your life comes through a conversation, right? I'll forever be grateful for Brian Jacobs, who really introduced us on the running group first, right? There's this idea in marketing that you're one funnel away. Well, Karen did not come through a funnel, right? It was a conversation. It was the introduction. And that's where the magic comes from.
Yeah, that's very true. The human interaction actually creates magic. Otherwise, no one knows what is going on in the other mind unless you speak up, unless you communicate. So I think that's a wonderful tool, or you would say wonderful way to actually let other people know and build proper relationship. But nowadays, as you see, the AI is emerging very rapidly. And so how do you foresee that it's going to impact, or is going to have impact on human relationships?
What's your thought on that?
I don't think there's a replacement. I mean, I guess it depends on how maybe deep of a person you are. If you're one that stays inside by yourself and you're pretty lonely, you might be more reliant on that, and you're not likely to have a relationship anyway. But for me, I just can't imagine any other way than just meeting face to face, or even over a Zoom call for someone that lives far away. But I think it's just more of a matter of asking the right questions and having that discussion back and forth. Regardless of your views on things, I think you can always learn something from somebody.
Yeah.
So I've never experienced an AI type of relationship that could do that for me.
And I guess I look at it as AI is supposed to be like computers or machines, right? It's supposed to empower us, not as replace us. And we went through a round of hiring recently, and it was interesting. My team picked it up before I did, and there was some of the answers that they said, "Oh, that's from AI. That's not a real person." And then like, how can you tell that? And they're like, "It's perfect. They even know where all the semicolons go," right? And so
yes,
it was clear that they used Chat GPT or something. So I think there's it should help us, but not replace us. And in that case, it was so perfect. It's like, no person is perfect like this, right? We want somebody that's real and authentic.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, this is very important that since there is a great hype about the Chat GPT, and a lot of people are replacing like the email marketing and the like directly sending the messages through AI. But I think, as Karen mentioned, that when you have a direct human to human communication, there is no replacement of it. I mean, no computer, no AI can replace that. And I think the real business comes from the human interaction, or not through just the interaction through AI or through computers. So I think this is I actually always say that it is high time that we embrace our humanness rather than going for the AI or for the machine or computers. So I think this is very important, that we should tell people that it should never be replaced with human. So I think now our time is almost about to be over. So before we finish the show, what one advice would you give to our audience today to have a happy and healthy relationship, whether at personal life or at the professional life?
You go.
Well,
you both can give. I mean, not one. I'll take two advice.
I think there are a few important things you have to have in any relationship for it to be not only successful but fulfilling, and that is trust
Mhm.
and, oh geez, I just drew a blank.
Respect.
And respect. Yes. Thank you. Trust and respect with, well, trusting yourself and also trusting your partner or whoever that, other person is in the relationship, and respect for them. And, today, in today's world, there are so many different views on some really important hot topics, and a lot of people don't talk about them. They just, avoid them because it could, nobody wants to offend anybody and that sort of thing. But I think you can still have those conversations with people when you're in a relationship with them, and they know that it's a place of trust and respect that the conversation is, coming from. And I think those conversations are super powerful because that's when you are perhaps open to change or learning someone else's view, and perhaps even changing your own mind on something that you might have had a very fixed mindset, but you talk to someone in a respectful, trusting way, and you can see now another side. And that makes you, I think, a better person and able to relate to more people that are different than you.
I think if I had to answer that, I would say happiness is a choice, right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of people with a lot less than I have that are super happy. And there's a lot of people with a lot more that aren't happy. And it doesn't have to do with this stuff. Someone that's an immigrant to the United States pointed this out to me the other day. She said, there are no problems in this country, right? There's situations, there's things to work on, but the country that she came from, there was famine, there was war, all of these other things. And she says, there's people, 100 years ago would look at us and say, we're living like kings and queens, right? There's a lot of problems in the world, but there's no better time to be alive. And I think that's important for us to remember that and choose to be happy and choose to deal with the blessings that we have here.
Amazing message. Yeah, that's very true. We need to choose happiness rather than just chasing happiness. So I think this is a wonderful message. So thank you so much for joining. Before we actually say goodbye to the audience, what is the best way to reach out to you?
Probably the easiest way is just go out to interviewvalet.com, and all our information is there. If we can help you in any way, just reach out to us there.
Okay, that's great. I'm gonna put your website in the comment after the show, so like whoever is going to check out the episode, they will get to know. So thank you so much, and I think you guys are also active on LinkedIn, so they can also send you a message on the LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing valuable insights. I'm sure our audience must have learned a lot from you. So thank you so much, and have a great day ahead. Okay.
Thank you,
Ambreen.
Yeah, and thanks to all the audience who joined today and shared the amazing comments. I'm gonna reply and see after the show. So thank you so much, and bye-bye.